So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this press conference. May I welcome all of you, our colleagues, campaigners, guests, and especially those who have made their best efforts to prepare this conference. My name is Pavel Svoboda. I'm a Czech MEP from the EPP group and chair of the Committee on Legal Affairs of this Parliament. And I will be moderating this press conference on behalf of a large informal working group that deals with the question of clock changing. This working group has over 70 MEPs from all 8 political groups. The goal of this conference is to inform you that there is a strong support, strong momentum and strong argumentation to change, to amend the EU directive on biannual clock changing. We do not want to repeal, and that I want to say at the very beginning, we do not want to repeal the directive. We want to change it in a way to preserve a unified EU regime, but without changing the clock, without switching from winter to summertime and backwards. I forgot to say at the very outset that there is interpretation for those who wish to have what I'm saying in English to have in French, German, Italian, Spanish, Polish, Swedish, Finnish and Dutch. So please look at the numbers on the cabins and make your choice of language as you wish. Due to the clock change, we see more traffic accidents, more disturbances in families and companies. The recent winners of the Nobel Prize for Medicine proved that humans have a strong biorhythm. Translated into human language, which was done by Professor Merov at one of our hearings here in the Parliament. 20% of the population suffer from health problems due to the clock change, and there are 80% of the population who do not believe that there are 20% of the population who have these health problems. The clock change was okay. I'm informed that there is no Swedish translation, so sorry for that. The clock change was originally introduced to save energy. However, these savings never occurred. So there are no benefits, only disadvantages. Today I have the pleasure to inform you that the European Parliament Research Service, an independent entity, provided us with its analysis that is so far available on the internet and will be printed out soon. I want to thank the European Parliament Research Service for this analysis. You have the executive summary printed out in the papers that are made available to you. What the summary basically says are 2 things. First, that as to the benefits, these are only marginal. We have what we save on light, we spend on heating. This alone should suffice to stop the clock changing. But what the study, the analysis says more, that the negative consequences on health are, I quote, more severe than previously thought. And that is what we were, at least the people engaged in this project, sure about even in the past. So once again, there is a large portion, 20% of the population, who suffer from health consequences of the time change. But health is one of the main disadvantages, but not the only one. Traffic accidents, etc., are also happening as a result of the time change. So we want to change this directive because we want better regulation also. We have already had a hearing, as I mentioned, and a debate with an oral question to the Commission here in this Parliament 1 year ago in the plenary. We also have been meeting the responsible Commissioner, Mrs. Bulc. Now it is time to act. Here today I can announce that we will table a motion for resolution calling on the European Commission for a proposal for abolishing the clock change. We expect a vote in the European Parliament in the near future. We see strong and growing support in the Member States. You can see, for instance, a parliamentary committee in Poland decided 2 weeks ago to abolish summertime. In Finland, there are pleas for a referendum on this question. Also, the Swedish and German parliaments are discussing this issue. And in many other member states, people are collecting signatures against the clock changing. Like in my country, in Czechia and other, many members of the parliament and campaigners wanted to speak here today. So as a selection, may I give the floor to some of them, some of the members, some of the campaigners, and I invite them to be short if possible, because we have altogether only 30 minutes for this press conference. So may I ask my colleague, Member of the Parliament, Mia Petra Kumpala-Natri from Finland, SND, to take the floor.
Thank you very much. Puhun suomea, kun meillä on tulkkauskin täällä tänään. Kellon siirtely.
I'll be speaking Finnish because we've got interpreting today. So we're here in Parliament, and for years we've all known in all of our countries that this change, the hourly change, can cause problems both in terms of health, economic problems as well. We're not experts here. The people you see here, we're not medical experts, and I'm not trying to represent them. But anyone who's got something to do with politics should become familiar with the information that we've got thanks to research and from different Nobel Prize winners have told us. There's lots of information, background information, that show us that the clock change certainly does not have a positive effect on human beings. In fact, can be quite dangerous. So here we're in the Parliament. We deal with political issues. This is a political issue. So we can make a decision to actually do what people want and try to do away with this clock change. So we've got a petition that's underway right now in Finland. Over 50,000 people have already signed it, and this is being dealt with in the Finnish Parliament. And I believe it's leading to the fact that the Finnish government in council is working more actively around this issue of ending the clock change. According to surveys in Finland, 42% of people would like to end the clock change. And there's various political groups here and various countries that all support that, and we're hoping that the Commission will listen to what we in Parliament would like to do. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Member of the Parliament, Mr. Andrzej Grzyb from Poland.
I'm here.
You have the floor.
Peter, thank you so much. But we have a translation. I switch my English to Polish language because it is better to explain my position in this issue. Badania opinii publicznej.
Well, polls are showing that more and more Europeans are opposed to this biannual clock change. In my country, in Poland, more than 60% of the population say that they are in support of abolishing the clock change. Yesterday, when we were working on where we're discussing the Commission work program for 2018, I said that the Commission should be big and should act big on issues like the clock change. So this directive should just be amended. I do understand that this requires a certain procedure. My colleague Pavel Svoboda suggested Article 134, which is a very good proposal, but he also said that in Poland the debate has already started, initiated by my party, Polish People's Party, and at the committee level, at the Polish Parliament, this was supported by all political parties. We are obviously aware that this requires certain consultations and it needs to be in full accordance with the European law, but obviously we hear voices from all over Europe and all across Europe, that voices that support this issue, so I'm very glad to be able to meet with you today and to give you a few pieces of information that seem to be really relevant from the point of view of this informal working group of over 70 MEPs. So thank you very much to our chairman, to Pavel, for gathering us here today. Thank you.
Ja też dziękuję Ciebie. We now continue with a great campaigner for stopping the biannual change, Mrs. Heidi Hautala from Finland, from the Greens.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair. I'm also very pleased to welcome our guests from various EU member states to this important gathering, where we are able to show that this is not just a few MEPs, and in fact it's a growing number of MEPs. But I'd like to share with you my personal angle. My only son, my only child, was born on the night when Finland switched the clocks for the first time to summertime, the 29th of March 1981. And I was very confused because I didn't know exactly when he was born. so that's why I've always been an ardent campaigner. And just to say one thing which shows that the EU authorities don't quite understand what they are doing when they, until now, they refuse following the example of the members of the European Parliament across all political parties and countries. Once we heard from the Commission that this Commission is big in big things and small in small things, and that's why they don't want to change this directive. This is completely wrong, and I hope that today we are all convinced that this has to change.
Thank you very much. Now we come to the national campaigners. First, Mrs. Anne Kusters, chair of the Belgium Organisation Against Summertime. Madame, vous avez la parole.
Merci. Beste parlementsleden, verkozenen door...
Dear MEPs who were directly elected by the people.
The absence of disease or infirmity. De Belgische Vereniging tegen Nieuwsverandering is oprecht blij.
The Belgian Organisation Against the Clock Change is very pleased with that statement from the World Health Organization. We live in a rich Europe, and nonetheless this is something which is making people very tired and is wearing them down. A lot of scientific work has been done by many universities across a lot of the member states over the past few years, and we should draw on those results. If you do an internet search, all of the results of these studies are available. Now, changing the clock does not lead to energy savings. We know that now. That's been looked into. You will have fewer accidents at work, fewer accidents on the road, fewer heart problems, less stress, increased productivity if we don't change the clocks. And we will also be respecting the biorhythm of living organisms. We will have a more natural hour, an hour which is closer to the sun's operation. Now, what more do we want? What are we waiting for? There seems to be a contradiction in terms, which is to make the 21st of March, the day of sleep. There was a Nobel Prize which was awarded recently, and this because of people looking into the workings of our molecular clock for biorhythm. Now, we over the past years have tried to draw attention to the fact that clock change isn't good. We're trying to continue our work, but we keep coming up against resistance of those in power. They seem to be passing the buck to other ministers, or they're lifting it to the European level without taking a position themselves. But changing the clocks is not an obligation. There is no need to do that, and our population is worried. We keep collecting signatures at regional level, unfortunately, but there is a groundswell of support against the changing of the clock. We don't have a lot of financial means available to us because the Lisbon Treaty stipulates that you need 1 million signatures out of a population of 500 million, and this across a number of member states, to prompt the Commission to come up with certain legislation. Now, try and collect those signatures. Now, our organisations have been in place for a number of years. We bring people together and we try and fight the clock change. Now, the reasons for our unhappiness are well-founded, and this situation has now been dragging on for years. If you visit our website, and we try and explain why we are against the changing of the clock, and you can then also read the comments that are left by visitors to our page, and there are even suggestions which are made to try and find a solution. All of this is proof that we shouldn't really intervene with natural processes because it harms our citizens. There's also a link on our website to a new petition, yet another petition, and round we go. Are we really trying to improve profit by dragging out the duration of a day artificially? Is it just about turnover? Is it just about more services, more money? Or are we finally going to look at what kind of damage is being done to our health? We will need more healthcare and we'll have less productivity if we keep changing the clock. If we continue to go along with clock changes, then we will have more money being spent on healthcare without the necessary result in productivity. Now, the Commission can no longer continue to hide behind the kind of statements which they made in 2015 in Brussels when there was a meeting of ministers and commissioners dealing with transport, energy. They made statements along the lines of, well, we haven't received a lot of complaints.
Goed. Merci voor het luisteren. Dank.
Right, my time is up. Thank you for listening.
Sorry, there is lots to say, and we have only 9 minutes left of the press conference, and at least 3 more speakers to go. The following one is Mrs. Eleonore Gabarin, President of French Association Contre l'heure d'été double.
Against daylight saving time.
La parole.
Mesdames, Monsieur.
The speaker needs a microphone, please. Please turn on the speaker's microphone. She needs a microphone.
Merci. Voilà. Coûts énergétiques et financiers et des...
Now, of course, people suffer and their financial costs too. And the clock changing is against communication. It creates a disorder in international schedules. Now, studies show that there are more accidents, more traffic accidents, and that there are pollution peaks early in the morning. And the summertime has never led to overall energy savings, according to various studies carried out in different countries, among others in the United States, where the accumulation or an overconsumption of heating and air conditioning and in traffic, it goes further than what you save in lighting. Now, in fact, the savings in lighting diminishes a lot because the kind of lights we use now use more energy. So the results are more and more negative, which is a scandal in the context of this world combat against climate change. Now, concerning the health, of course, it's difficult to go to sleep because melatonin is blocked by light. and specialists have shown the harm that's done by a deficit in sleep. And people, of course, use a lot of medicines to compensate for this. And then there are work accidents, and here summertime reduces the productivity. And summertime does not favor people enjoying leisure outside. And I think it's in the general interest to get rid of this system of clock changing. Thank you.
Je vous remercie.
Thank you very much, Madam. Now the floor goes to Mrs. Anouk Verhaaf, Chair of the Dutch Organization Against Clock Change.
Dankjewel. Geachte aanwezigen.
Let me take you on a route through time. In 1970 in the Netherlands, daylight savings was introduced, so we would have 6 months standard time and 6 months summertime. Now in 1996, summertime ended on the last Sunday of October, which meant that summertime suddenly lasted for 7 months, which is a month longer than before. Then in 2007, researchers from the University of Groningen, together with the University in Munich, managed to demonstrate that summertime has a long-standing and serious effect on the health of humans. Now, what starts in October this year, or what happens? Well, 3 American researchers win the Nobel Prize, and they prove that a biological clock does indeed exist. But they go beyond that, and there is more done. Mr. Sloboda has pointed to research which is carried out in the EU, and we now find that in the week after the clocks change, there are 30% more accidents, people don't do their job as well, and children at school get worse results. Now, I started a petition in the Netherlands. We now have 40,000 signatures in the meantime, and I think it's clear that these people are all in favour of stopping to change the clock. And this is now a burden that we are being imposed with, and it's basically jet lag. And if you want jet lag, we'll travel abroad.
Thank you very much. Last but not least, Mr. Alain Philippov, Vice President of Association Retour à...
The association to go back to the meridian time. Thank you very much. Well, on the 20th of October, we're going to recover the hour that was taken away from us during the spring and the summer and part of this autumn. For more than 40 years, doctors, professors, scientists have constantly denounced the multiple deleterious effects of this summertime system, which can be traumatizing and costly in terms of public health. And I just want to emphasize 2 points in terms of the environment. Moving the hour up, moving traffic to where the sun is shining most increases pollution, and the cars are moving at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. That is, in fact, when the sun is strongest, and the same in the evening, which increases the amount of ozone. And then, in terms of health, these studies carried out by Professor Ronenberg and 3 American researchers on our biorhythm, who recently received the 2017 Nobel Prize in Medicine, have made it possible to make advances in understanding that the destructuring of our biorhythms do promote metabolic diseases and cancers, and they show up the necessity of respecting our biorhythm. Now, our bio clock only recognizes the meridian time over all the year. So between waking and sleeping time. And now Mrs. Gabon talked about the production of melatonin, but we could talk about cortisol, but I won't go into that because I've got so little time. Now, legal time is important in organizing all our society's activities because it influences all schedules. Now, we can change schedules, but we can't change the hour because then our biorhythm is disrupted. Now, we consider that moving to daylight saving time does disrupt things and disrupts children and doesn't save energy. At the end of March 2018, let's no longer change the hours. Let's no longer be a sorcerer's apprentice. Let's just stick to the real clock, the sun.
Thank you very much. We should have had one more speaker, Mr. Hubertus Hilgers from the German Association Against Summertime, but unfortunately because of illness he had to cancel his trip. So now we come to the point where the journalists are to ask their questions. Sir, you were the first one to ask.
Yes, Dave Keating for Deutsche Welle. I just want to check, what is the current status of EU law on this? This is getting quite far in Poland. If Poland unilaterally decides to end daylight savings time, does that violate the EU directive? And if so, what's the best solution for that?
Purely legally speaking, since there is an EU directive in place that regulates the question, in my view, a unilateral action of a member state would not be in conformity with this piece of EU legislation. How to solve the question? Basically, to move on the EU level. That's the best solution to avoid any such conflicts, because this nonsense has been repeated and repeated for years. So let's take practical action to avoid lack of patience from the member states' side. Madam.
May I very short come in? I'm Gesine Meissner, a German member of ALDE Group and Transport Committee. The Transport Commissioner who is responsible, Commissioner Bulc.
Sorry, are you a journalist?
No, I'm sorry.
This is a press conference.
I was supposed to sit there, but my name was missing. I'm one of the initiators.
That's not our business.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to say what the Commissioner said. Commissioner Bulc feared exactly that it could be different legislation in different member states. She wants to have it in unanimity in Europe. That's why she doesn't touch the directive. I think it's the wrong way to go forward.
Yep. Okay. Other questions? Yes, sir.
Karol Żurowka, Polish Public Radio. You said you hope that the vote in this matter would be very soon, but when could the change take place? So how many time changes do we still have to go through?
Well, very good question. You don't suppose that I know the answer. We are just now launching the, let's say, motion for resolution. That means we will collect signatures among the members for this motion of resolution. Then this motion will go to the Conference of Presidents of the European Parliament, who will send it to the responsible TRAN committee, Committee for Transportation, and that committee is going to hopefully launch the legislative, it's not a legislative procedure, but from the committee it will go to the plenary. This will be voted in the plenary, and that will be an official invitation for the Commission to come up with the respective amendment to the directive as requested by the motion of resolution. Yes.
I just wanted to say that what would be very, very helpful if Finland, where this popular initiative has already reached the committee level of the Parliament, would pass this in the Parliament. So that would oblige the Finnish government to act in the Council. And I can assure you that Finland would never do anything unilaterally. Finland would propose to change the directive, but Poland, of course, is helpful if they would then join.
Just to remind that the initiative, right to initiate, is still only the Commission, and as mentioned by the campaigners here, the other option is 1 million, but we still need the Commission to initiate. Parliament cannot do it, but we can do the public and political pressure to ask Commission to propose it.
indeed. I'm sorry, I am given a signal that we have to stop this press conference because others are waiting. We are at your disposal outside the press conference room for other questions to be answered. Thank you everybody for being here with us. Thank you all that have prepared this conference, including Angelika Niebler, Anička Záborská and others. Thank you.